One of the projects I had to finish sooner than I had expected was to get the exhaust fan and an intake vent installed in the greenhouse. Even though it's near the end of November, this greenhouse still got above 90 degrees during the daytime, and that will kill the plants or at least stunt their growth. So this video is going to show steps I took to install the exhaust fan and the intake vent, and to put hoods over them on the outside so that snow and ice won't blow into them. This is not one continuous video. It was done in sections as the progress took place, because it would have been too lengthy to record the entire event. But I hope that this will give you some insight into the process of installing an exhaust fan and a vent and having them thermostatically controlled so the greenhouse will stay a little cool. Well, it's time to start adding exhaust fan to the greenhouse. When the sun's bright like it is today, it gets too hot in here. It's currently 82 degrees, 39 degrees outside, and I don't want to get above 80, so we're going to put an exhaust fan in. That window there will be replaced with a exhaust fan. I purchased a 12-inch 3-speed exhaust fan, which is thermostatically controlled. It will go up where that window is. There's also a vent cover that I've purchased sitting in the corner there that will go over the intake vent. And so we're going to take out that window and frame it in and put a 12-inch fan there. And on this end of the greenhouse, where that larger window is, we're going to put the intake vent, which is sitting here ready to go in. It's a 16-inch vent. It's also thermostatically controlled to open, so when the thermostat turns on the exhaust fan, it will also open the intake vent. So we're going to start on that project today, and hopefully we'll have it finished in a couple, 3 days. Got the intake vent built, and it's built out of 2x2s. It's screwed to the greenhouse studs, so it's very secure. It's not going anywhere. Had to build a little support in back here for the top of it, but it's very strong. The only thing I have to do with this now is cut out the opening into the polycarbonate and then mount the vent. So I'll get started on that. Okay, I got the hole cut in the polycarbonate. Used a hacksaw blade to do that, and it worked really well with a nice smooth hole. And we'll go outside and I'll see what it looks like out there as well. Here's the outside of the hole, and it's pretty smooth edges, so I think it's going to work good. I'll go put the fan in and then we'll see what that looks like. Well, the exhaust vent is mounted. It's got the electric motor on it, and it's ready to go, and we'll plug it in over here and see what it does. It opens wide open. It's ready to go, and I think this is a good system here. Now we'll work on the other side, put the exhaust fan in, and we'll be ready to go with this. I caulked around the outside of the vent so that it's a little more rainproof, and we have a shroud to put over this, which I have to get painted, but this is going to match the greenhouse real well with the white, and the hood that's on it will be white as well. So the next project now is get that hood mounted, painted mounted, and then get the exhaust fan in, and we'll have the system done. Got the hood over the intake vent so that if it's raining or snowing or whatever, and if fan comes on, it won't pull rain into the greenhouse. This was a real good match. It's a 16-inch vent, and the vent cover hood was designed for 16-inch fan vent, so it's a perfect fit. So this end of the greenhouse is finished, Got the intake vent in, got the hood on it. Everything is sealed with caulking and it's ready to go. So now start the project of putting the exhaust fan in. Now I have to remove this window and I have to frame it in with a piece of pressure treated plywood and cut a 12-inch square hole to mount the exhaust fan and then run the thermostat and the wiring to it. So I'll get started on that now, and I won't film the whole thing, but I'll stop and get steps along the way and show how it's done. Right now I'll move to the outside and look at the window and see what needs to be done out there. This is the outside of the window. I have a bunch of screws, about 13 or 14 of them that I have to remove, take that out, and then trim that with a piece of aluminum siding trim, and then mount a piece of plywood in there and frame it in, and we'll be ready to put a fan in there. Have the window out and have it framed in with 2x2s. So I'm getting ready to put in a piece of plywood to make that hole filled except for a 12-inch square for the fan. So I'll show outside where I trimmed the window with aluminum flashing so that it won't get water in between the joints. The outside of the window, you can see that it is framed in, but I put the aluminum flashing around the outside edges to make it waterproof so the water doesn't run down between the walls. And after everything's in, I'll get it caulked and then it'll be sealed real good. So now I'll get the piece of plywood with a 12-inch hole cut in it, and then I'll get that mounted and we'll come back here. The 3/4-inch piece of plywood is in. It's screwed in real tight, and it's got the 12-inch square hole cut for the fan, and I mounted the bolts in there so the fan can hang on them. So now we'll go inside and we'll look at it and then we'll put the fan on it. Okay, the fan's mounted. It's bolted in and tightened down. Now all it remains now is to put caulking around the trim and around the board, and we'll be done with this project. And we'll go inside and look at what happens when we turn on the fan. Okay, there's the fan from the inside, mounted against the plywood board. It has a thermostat, which I haven't mounted yet. I'll get that done in a short time. And then on this end down here, we have the vent that will allow in the intake of air. So if we turn on this thermostat until it clicks, that turns the fan on. I have it on the second speed. It's a 3-speed fan. It's on the middle right now. At the same time that's happening, the intake vent is opening and allowing air to be sucked into the greenhouse. It's fully open now, and it'll stay open until the fan shuts off. And the fan is fairly quiet. It's hard to tell it's running, but now when we turn off the thermostat, that shuts off the fan and it closes the intake vent. So this project is completed except for caulking around the fan on the outside. Everything else is done. I built a box to go around the thermostat and the remote temperature sensor. We have a thermometer in the house, and this is a remote for it, so tell what the temperature is inside the greenhouse at any time by just looking at the thermometer. But the box is built so that it'll keep the sun off of the thermostat and the temperature sensor so that it won't give a false reading and it won't overheat it. And I also built an extension cord out of 14-2 wire and put that up permanent so that it's now connected to the intake fan. So I no longer have a extension cord to pull to go on the floor. This is permanent, and it's nailed to the wall so that it'll stay there, and it provide adequate power to the exhaust or the intake vent. The last step of putting in the exhaust fan was to put a hood over it so that it is protected from the winter winds and rain and ice and snow. So that is finished. So now this greenhouse project is completed.